Hey, there you are. Thanks for being here. Welcome to my city of 45,000 inhabitants. It is small but growing, and already it has some major traffic issues. Today, I want to look at some of those trouble spots and see if you can tell what needs to be done to solve the issue. So here's trouble spot number 1. Take a good look. It is a T intersection. There's a vanilla traffic light in there. Maybe the vanilla traffic light's the problem. Maybe it should have been a roundabout, perhaps? What are we thinking? Let's look up the way a bit. It's very well backed up all the way to the highway interchange. Interesting. And the areas leading to it are also backing up as a result. Very strange. Let's go to another area. This is looking very similar to that first area. A T intersection, backed up on all sides into the neighborhoods, leading to the highway. Well, let's go right onto the highway. It is backed up well onto the highway on both sides in both directions, all the way to another interchange. Okay, now I see what's going on. Let's check something else out. Okay, now we're getting to the big picture. On this northern side of the highway, which is still backed up, of course, you can see that we have 6 neighborhoods, and they're only connected by individual roads, and even the north and south direction, they're only connected by this T intersection here. You may laugh, but I see this pretty often. Zooming out further to take a look at the highway, there it is. Welcome, everyone. Welcome. This is a common scenario that I see posted on Reddit all the time, or asked about in the Discord. Why am I having a traffic backup? Oftentimes, it is an issue with connectivity, road hierarchy, and/or traffic reduction. Today, I want to talk about these 3 big picture issues. As you can see here, we're forcing all of the traffic through this one intersection, which isn't the problem on its own, really. But then we're forcing it onto this one interchange to get on the highway to go to the other interchange, and neither of these are actually the problem, really. It's not so simple. And then on this side, it's identical. I just want to show what a bit of connectivity and road hierarchy and traffic reduction can do in your cities without even worrying about the individual junctions. Don't sweat whether it's a roundabout. Don't sweat your traffic light timing. Don't worry about replacing your intersection until you've looked at the big picture and tried to solve the issue holistically in your city. Before we actually implement this fix in the city, I want to brush up on what road hierarchy really means. You can get lost in all the terms very quickly, but this graphic shows it pretty plainly. The through traffic movement speed, which I would equate with capacity, and access are on 2 different planes here on this graph. So the lower the access, the higher the capacity. And you can see the names: freeway, arterial, collector, local. As capacity goes down, access can go up. So you can have more connections to your arterial than a freeway. You can have more connections than that to a collector, and the most connections can be found on local roads. Nature, I've found, is extremely good at organizing itself in this way. You can think the human circulatory system, or you can think, in this case, a tree or a leaf. Now, this is just how the universe has decided is the best way to do it, and that's, I think, why it works so well in cities when it's implemented correctly. But this major looks like a highway to me, right? That's going up the center of the leaf. And then you've got these arterial roads coming off the sides of the highway. Now, in a city, these would be connected by interchanges to handle that amount of capacity. But if you look at the access, it's fairly limited. There's a limited number of real large connections to that large road. But then it breaks off further, and you've got these collector, I'll call them roads, collector ventricles going down. And then the local ones are very small, very low capacity, but tons and tons and tons of connections. Let's bring this concept into our city and see if we can't fix our connectivity and road hierarchy. I suppose the best way to start implementing road hierarchy and connectivity in this area would be to look at the largest road and see where it's lacking, which means bringing this one all the way in and ultimately connecting it, here, maybe we'll just go to here, ultimately connecting it to unify all of these neighborhoods so they're not all forced through this one place. So let's look at connecting it here, and possibly again at the end. I would also like to connect these areas to one another without just this connection here. So let's look at these sort of missing connections on all of the neighborhoods. And let's get the small road. I'm not really going to name any of these. You could say that it's the arterial and the collector and the local. I'm not really going to give them names, but intuitively, we're kind of going to try to pull off what nature did with the leaf. So a little extra connection there, extra connection here. Let's finish that one off. Same thing up here. Excellent. I'm going to make that change on both sides for starters, and we'll go from there. Now that we've helped improve the local connectivity on both sides, I think it's probably even more important that we increase the connectivity between each of the sides to one another. So this entire connection here is missed until we make it. So let's do it. I'd like to make 3 new connections here. Let's do something like this, and we'll make a bridge. Now this will be the shortest and fastest route between the two sides without even having to go on the highway. That's not the only change I'm going to make, but let's see what effect that has. Within a few minutes of unpausing the game, hundreds of cars flocked to this route instantly. It freed up a bit of space on this intersection on both sides, but the change is not sufficient. What we really need to do is fix our highway entrance and exit access. So what we're going to actually do is get rid of this interchange. But I want to stress the interchange isn't really the problem. It's the lack of connectivity between the sides that's the problem. And that's really just because the interchange is a 3-direction interchange. In keeping with the first vanilla interchange we used, I'm actually going to throw in a vanilla cloverleaf. I'm going to do that same change on both sides and let the game run to see the result. I think that looks pretty good. We've actually got it up to the low 80s in traffic flow percentage just by adding a few extra connections and paying attention to road hierarchy. Now let's zoom in a little closer and see what else we can do to influence connectivity. I think this is such an awesome statement. The Sims in City Skylines are so willing to walk and bike places. This is the only walkable path between the two areas of the city. It is the only walkable path to cross this highway. Insane. There are tens of thousands every hour crossing at this one location. What I'd like to do is extend that bit of walkability to other areas. For instance, here, there's not much that needs to be done really. We've already got great connectivity because of these smaller connections, so this is also highly walkable between these two areas. These two areas, however, are kind of hung out to dry in that regard. So what I might recommend doing would be something, you could do an overpass network. It gets a bit unrealistic pretty quickly, but just taking walking paths and going to the end where crosswalks are and kind of just throwing them over is incredibly powerful. Now, it's even more powerful if this is walkable. If this were a proper service interchange, it would be extremely walkable. So until that happens, what I'd like to do is just put something in to simulate the service interchange that our little city deserves. Awesome. Further walkability measures that we could take would include, looking around, I like these spots. Without mods, you can add a crosswalk by creating a road. With mods, we can just add a crosswalk in these locations, and that would further increase connectivity massively. So for instance, I can go add a crosswalk with node controller. Right there. And another one, please. Excellent. That allows this area to permeate to this area without having to go to these major intersections, so that's going to help a lot. I would probably do something similar about here. In real life, these might have a traffic light at these crosswalks. I believe it's called a pelican crossing, or perhaps just a lighted pedestrian crossing would suffice naming-wise. We'll convert that to a crossing, and we'll also convert this one to a crossing. Very good. As I said before, the final piece of the puzzle, looking at the big picture, is really just transit. I'm going to unpause the game and let the people start walking and start considering where transit might go in a layout like this. Now the traffic flow percentage seems to be hovering in the mid-80s pretty consistently. We've got a lot of walkability next to the interchanges. We've got great connectivity with crosswalks in the middle here. And that extends over to the other side, the other interchange. Just lots of walkability and connectivity. If you've done it right, eventually, rather than the pedestrians getting in the way of the cars, it seems more that the cars are getting in the way of the pedestrians. And I'd say that's kind of a healthier city rather than a traffic jam, in my opinion. I've added this train line going down, and I'd like to give the city another macro traffic change, if you will. I'd like to throw in a central train station, and hopefully, with a little bit of luck, I can get this to work out in such a way that our transit situation will improve our traffic percentage much more. It's not very pretty, I'll admit, but it's okay. This connection should serve us well. And I'd like to also install some bus lines. I'm going to keep these real general, real simple. Just going to throw this in wherever it fits. Beautiful. It's the bus depot. And no train line required. Just bus lines here. And I'm going to create a new line. One that goes up into this area. And maybe we'll try to hit every neighborhood. So at least a stop in every neighborhood. I'm also going to make a clockwise line to go along with our counterclockwise line, and we'll see how that affects the overall traffic of the city. At this point, traffic seems to be bouncing from 84 to 87%, sometimes a little lower, sometimes a little higher, but it's kind of high 80s, mid to high 80s is the equilibrium that we've reached. So every little change has yielded better and better results for our city. Transit is a form of traffic reduction, just like walkability and bikeability, adding all of the bike paths, walking paths, things like that. My rule of thumb is to create a very strong road network, which I would say this is, hierarchy-wise and connectivity-wise. build a strong road network, and then decentivize anyone from using it. I think that's really the best way to make a completely functional city in City Skylines. And of course, transit is a great way to decentivize people from using their cars. Cargo station would be another one to add for all of the industry that I have lining these main roads, which is also kind of bad. A cargo station would help alleviate a lot of the trucks coming in off the highway. But as you can see, the highway intersections are looking good. The interchanges are fine. The main intersections in this city are these two here, without a doubt. But overall, every incremental change has helped traffic tremendously. I'm glad it worked out that way. I'd like to continue this with a second episode. Today was the macro of traffic in City Skylines, so a zoomed out look and thinking holistically of the whole city, and really thinking of it as connecting different parts and effective transit, things like that. The next episode will be the micro. So we're looking at the small things. We're going to look at these individual intersections and think about what can be done to help now that we've helped the city overall. Everyone, I really appreciate you hanging out. Thank you for talking transit with me and talking traffic with me. At the end of the day, City Skylines is a really great traffic simulator, and I think it's probably the hardest part of the game and also the most interesting to learn. So I'm glad to kind of lay it all out in a structured way for you. Hopefully you find this helpful. Everyone, thank you for being here. I've been Yumble. I'll see you in the next stream or the next video.